Hope, and welcome to Today in Putnam County. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're having a great weekend. My goal with the show is to interview our community leaders that help make Putnam County a great place to live, work, and raise our families. My guest today is Mr. Eric Walker, who's one of our Cookeville City Councilmen. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning, Randy. I appreciate you having me on this morning, and we're having a good time here at the city and at the radio station today.
Well, absolutely. Great new digs here we got at the new Willow Window studio that we're in.
Absolutely. I walked in and it's Randy's everywhere. So for those of you on the radio, we've got 4 television screens with pictures all over the place. It's pretty awesome.
So thanks, Eric. I appreciate you being here. You've been one of our local businessmen for several years here in Cookeville. What made you decide to run for city council in 2018?
That's a good question. I've always been really interested in civic government and how that works. I studied some legal studies up at University of Tennessee when I went to college. Being in the business world, it's a lot of what can I get out of something? And you kind of get a mindset going where, you're always looking to make a profit or make a good deal. And with my previous studies and kind of where I want to be, I really like to think, what can we give back to? And when you have government's not a business, and it needs to benefit the people and benefit the city, and then I really wanted to have an input on that, and I felt like that I could take business knowledge and apply it there, but with the understanding that it's for the benefit of the people. It's not a profit maker. It doesn't need to be, and just a kind of a way to kind of help give back and try to be a part of the community that way.
Serve the people. That's what government is all about, isn't it? So you've been in office for about a year now, a little over a year. Anything that you've learned that you didn't know? Is there something big that sticks out that you say, wow, I did not know that until after I got into office?
Absolutely. I think for the first year, it's just getting your feet under the ground and learning so much. It's just, I've always been the type of person that, you learn as you go. I had some pilot training. I fly airplanes on the side, and that's one of those things where every day is a learning day. You're never not getting an education, and that's kind of how government works and the city works. If you're going to participate in that, you're always learning new things. Right around the corner, there's always a new grant or a new policy, and when it may seem like deciding whether a road should go here or where you should widen a sidewalk over here may seem like a small issue, but for the person living in front of that,
it's big.
That's a big deal. And so you really gotta take that into consideration, and the amount of effort and time that gets put into it is really interesting, but it's very fulfilling, and I've been completely intrigued by it, and I really enjoy doing it.
Most folks may not know that you were a pilot and a big supporter of Overcoming an airport. Of course, you got that came down from your dad, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It runs in my genes. In fact, the plane I fly is I'm the 3rd generation owner of it.
Wow.
So planes last a long time if you keep them maintained. And my granddad was a pilot. There's pilots throughout my family. I even have a grandmother who was a pilot. So, both sides of my family, my mother's side and my father's side, everybody was pilots.
Wow, that's great, and that's that freedom of being up in the air and you're in control of your own destiny of what happens is kind of like being a city councilman, isn't it?
It's a different perspective, that's for sure. And so, when you're sitting on the council, you do have to make important decisions, and that affect a lot of people.
Well, let's talk about, as we were talking before we went on the air, the list of the great things going on in the city of Cookeville and Putnam County right now is unbelievable. We had to cut down on what we thought we'd be able to talk about today, so we want to hit some of the highlights of some of them. Just had a big announcement on a new dog park grant, I think, that the city of Cookeville won. Can you tell us about that and the competition that you went through to get that?
Absolutely. So Leisure Services kind of saw this coming. The Boyd Foundation, sponsored a lot by Randy Boyd, who ran for governor. has a dog-related company in Knoxville, and he's put out a foundation, and he's going across the state of Tennessee, and they're putting in dog parks and put money towards that in all kinds of municipalities. And so they had a competition for all the towns to apply for a dog park grant from him, and we won the grand prize of $100,000, and that's a lot of money for a dog park. Many towns only got 25, and they did a lot of help in that area, and we need a dog park. That's one of the things that that a lot of the people on council push for, and we want to see, and there's a lot of people interested. You need a place to go and have your dog socialize with other people, and it's a good place to meet other people. It builds community. Anytime you can build a space like that, that people can interact in the community and neighbors can get together.
Oh, it's quality of life. And from what I understand, you competed against like 50 other cities.
There's a large competition, and we want to thank Rick Woods and Leisure Services for getting that out there. And a lot of people in the city worked hard on that. Melinda Kiefer, and they all did a great job making sure that got publicized on Facebook. And really it takes the people of Cookeville to do it. That was a competition about how the public riding in and saying, we want this in our town. And for our town to win that is absolutely amazing. It shows that the people do want it. They're willing to work for it. And I'm a firm believer in that. That's part of the reason I ran for city council, is anytime, if you want something in the city, it's your town too.
Right.
And the city's going to be a reflection of what the people who live in it want to put into it. And that's one of the most important concepts. If you expect somebody to do it for you and it not to cost anything, well, that's not a reality. You're not going to have any services. You're not. So, having a good quality of life and having good public services means you got to put something into that, whether it's a little tax or whether it's just physically giving back. We've got a lot of great organizations around town that Cityscape just did their new Fall Fun Fest, and what a hit that was.
The crowd, was that not amazing?
It had to be record-breaking at Diamond Rio at Fall Fun Fest.
Unbelievable. I mean, we got some pictures, I know some drone pictures and pictures up on top of the buildings, and as far as you could see in every direction, it was maxed out.
Absolutely. And I've noticed, of course, I've got an office on the square as well, and I've noticed you guys have been making some great improvements to the courthouse.
New roof, new HVAC, new landscaping. And City Hall is about to get some of those, and let's talk about those as we come back for our break. You're listening to Today in Putnam County and News Talk 107.7 and 1400 The Hub. I'm County Mayor Randy Porter, your host. More with Cookeville City Councilman Eric Walker when we come back. Stay with us. Welcome back to Today in Putnam County. I'm your host, County Mayor Randy Porter. Hope you're having a great weekend. My guest this morning is Cookeville City Councilman Mr. Eric Walker. Eric, been talking about great things happening in Cookeville. We started out with the dog park. Let's talk about the renovations going on at City Hall that folks might be interested in.
Yeah, City Hall, it's an older building, and when anytime a building's that old, you've got to make improvements. And those are the hard improvements because you're not gaining a lot. Right. It's maintenance, right. And anytime you got maintenance in a government, you're not getting anything extra.
It's not sexy, is it? It's not.
That's right. You don't get to do a big, hey, we're bringing this to you, but it's really important. And everybody at the city has worked really hard. They've gotten more use out of an older building than I think anybody could ever get. And I'm in the building business, and I'm telling you, they've done a great job maintaining that building over time and getting every penny's worth for it. It's still in great shape. And we're hoping just with some minor improvements we can upgrade it. We're going to make it a little more energy efficient. Try to bring down our cost over time, and hopefully, when you do things like these improvements down the road tend to pay for themselves. Absolutely. So that's a huge benefit to the city. So you will see some going on at City Hall, the windows being replaced, new HVAC, and things like that make it better for our employees. I mean, we've got great employees, and we need to take care of our structures and our buildings, and make sure our company's running efficiently, our government's running efficiently.
Did I see something that that 30 or 40% savings could be expected with all the changes that the city's making on the building?
Yeah, anytime that you start insulating old windows, they just didn't have the technology we have today, and the information that we have today. So anytime you do that, when you start making changes like these, there's huge benefit to the cost savings down the road, and so especially when it's government, and we're going to buy a building. That land's going to be owned by the government beyond my lifetime, and
Generations to come.
yeah, and so that's an investment that keeps on going, and so we put a short term on it, but it's a long term investment,
That's right.
and that's really good. And we've got some other projects coming up around town. We can
Let's talk about the one you probably get the most calls on. I know I do, and we're getting close. That's Washington Avenue and all the renovations to that road and everything. Most folks probably don't realize that's a state highway.
Yeah.
City of Cookeville just can't go down in and pave it or change it or do anything they want to. That's got to be done with TDOT. But yet, it's inside the city, it's inside the county, so you and I get the calls on you. Give us an update on that if you can.
Yeah, and if you're driving down Washington Avenue, you'll see city trucks out there. You'll see a lot of work going on, a lot of contractors. They've been doing concrete work over the past weeks, and they're moving into the milling stage and getting that first phase of that project done. It's been kind of a painful project, to say the least. I mean, our utilities run under it. We've got to update those. The water department's been over there. It's really important to try to do the best you can to maintain as much of that infrastructure underneath the road, and replace it prior to getting this asphalt laid, because it is a real benefit to have the state come in. Even though these projects are painful, the long-term benefit of having the state help us with a new road going through our town is pretty amazing.
And so, pay for it.
Absolutely.
Right.
And that's not coming out of our pocketbook.
That's right.
And so that's a huge. We've got a lot of state highways in our town, and that's a huge benefit to Cookeville. When these things happen, and with potholes in Washington for so long, it's hard to bear for what's been a couple years now, and it can get kind of unnerving. I mean, I drive down Washington every day, and it's just luckily I drive a 4x4. I feel sorry for everybody in a small car, but they're going to get it done, and they're going to do it right, and then that's what's important. We don't want them digging back up that asphalt at the end. So they're going to do it in 2 phases, we think, and a lot of things can change, but we're hoping that the first phase that starts up at the courthouse and works its way down Washington to the north will be completed hopefully sometime this calendar year, and then hopefully next spring we can work on the second phase. It's important to get that asphalt on the ground while it's still warm.
Still warm.
Yeah,
that's great. City just purchased some new property over on Cedar, I believe, looking at making a new parking lot. Is that right?
Yeah, there's new property over on Cedar. It's right beside the depot in the Leslie Town Center. That's always been a thing that's been in high demand, is downtown establishments and parking. And I've always believed that your downtown is kind of your life of your city, and
it's the soul of the city.
It's where we started. I mean, it really is the heartbeat and everything else. And without it, your town's just not going to be as attractive. You're not going to have that community involvement that you have like you have downtown.
Right.
And so for us, when you have those older buildings and you don't have that ability for people to go out and just build parking lots, and you're not going to put a Walmart downtown, and so you really need the city and the public to kind of invest in that infrastructure and make sure that there's plenty of parking. And we've got a lot of changes downtown. We're looking at Cityscape and Cedar to where it goes from the depot all the way to Tennessee Tech. We're hoping to add a lot to that, nicer light poles and better facilitation of that road going to Tech. Part of that is we bought the old storage units that were downtown, and where the mural is, and we're going to try to work to turn that into more parking, and hopefully do that with as much grace as possible, So there will be some renovations downtown. There's already been a local developer start a project. They've torn down the old antique building.
The old antique building finally went.
Yeah, and it's an older building, I think.
It was
you know,
really in bad shape, I think, was.
Absolutely. It was on the verge of being a hazard, I think. And so anytime you got local people wanting to kind of restore an area of downtown, I think that's just a great thing.
Oh, I think it is too.
Um,
Maybe changing some parking on Broad Street also, is that?
Yeah, that's in the lineup. We're discussing it right now. We've got, when you drive down Broad Street right there, down our main drag, headed towards the depot, a lot of people don't get the memo. I guess they don't know how far their car sticks out behind them.
Or the big trucks.
Or the big
stick
trucks.
out, yeah.
And so, you need to exercise a little caution with that. But we're going to be putting in some painted lines there. So if you're going to be parking there, make sure your car fits in the parking spot, because it is a road. And if you're creative about how you park a truck, you might can fit, or if it's a smaller truck. But we don't want people parking up on the sidewalk, and we don't want people parking out in the road where they're going to get hit. And making traffic, jamming that up. So we're hoping that improvement will really help things downtown.
And that's coming pretty soon. Right?
Oh yeah, we expect that very soon.
That's great. You're listening to Today in Putnam County on News Talk 107.7 and 1400 The Hub. I'm County Mayor Rainey Porter, your host. Coming up after the break, more with Cookeville City Councilman Eric Walker. Please stay with us. Welcome back to Today in Putnam County. I'm your host, County Mayor Randy Porter. Hope you're having a great weekend. My guest this morning is Cookeville City Councilman Eric Walker. Talking about all the great things going on in Cookeville. Eric, we listed off a lot of projects. One of them that I just noticed that's come about in the last few days is we got some new benches over on Broad Street to the west side. Some neat new things going on. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we do. We've got the West Side Business Association. They kind of donated an effort, really. It takes more than just money.
Yes.
An effort to get some of local artists to build what are fantastic benches downtown.
Amazing, aren't they?
Yeah. Anytime you can mix culture into that community, that's really going to bring out more people and create a vibe around your city that is appealing. And these two benches that we have, one's located at the depot. The other one's just down the street at Cedar, where we've been talking about other improvements happening. And the city did a little work there to make some space for it. Mm-hmm. They're beautiful benches. One of them was done by David Freak, and it's called Lost in Labor, and it's by the depot. And the other one's Abraham Padres, Parties, Equanimity.
Wow.
And so but it's really neat additions to the town, and it's really neat to have artists who believe in the town. We've got a lot of great murals
that are willing to give back.
And we got a lot of great artists around here.
We do.
We've got great music, great artists, great food. It's just, Cookeville's a pretty amazing place to live. And so any way we can support that and push that forward, it really helps benefit our town and the people living in it.
You're probably like me, you've been a lot of places in the country, across the world, never found another place that was as great as Cookeville.
That's right.
Only one Cookeville, as they say.
A lot of people say no place like home, and I say no place like my home.
That's right, I agree. New police station, I know that's been on the drawing board for a while, and I think you're getting close on that. Can you give us an update?
Yeah, we've got the plans in place. We're working with a contractor now. We've bid out the services portion of that. That ball is moving forward. We're right now in the process of seeing where we can save money on the project. And the way we bid it out this time is we're flexible in how we spend our money. And that's an important thing. That's one of the hardest things to do in government is you get a design, and then it's like
you're locked in.
You got to bid it, and you're locked in. And we found a way that we have a little more control over the cost on that, and it still goes through that proper bidding process. And I think that's a very good way to conduct business on the side of the city, to do it that way.
Absolutely. It's going to be located out off of Neal Street. Is
that
Old Walton Road?
Old Walton Road and Neal Street, and the road that the city is Guardian's Way. So it's a pretty good name. Yeah, and it's already been updated in the city and on our street map. And So I'm sure Google will catch up eventually. But it's exciting to have that.
So you're looking at construction maybe next year sometime, starting next spring, summer sometime?
Hopefully, we've got the funding set aside, and so we're just it's moving forward on a few things, and they've really already gotten started over there. I mean, a lot of groundwork's been done,
Already have.
and so I think you know you're going to see real progress next year towards that.
That's great. You got a new city manager, James Mills, but he's no newbie to Cookeville, being the planning director for many years. How's that working out?
It's pretty great. You know, when I came on last year, you had Mike Douglas, and great guy,
Absolutely.
amazing. He did so much for our city, and you know when you're sitting down looking at and talking about before I came over, I said, you know, what all have we gotten done in the last year? It's just been amazing, and
Huge list.
and I'll have to credit both James and Mike for that. You know, James was the director of our planning department. He's been with the city a very, very long time, and so he's been there. He's been in that planning stage, and that, so he understands where we're at already. Mike did a lot of good work for us, getting us to the point where we are now, and to see this amount of work get done, that's from both of them. And you know, when you have two good minds working hard at the city. And you see that change, and everything just kind of flows right into new leadership. We don't have a bump in the road. We've hit the ball rolling, and and it's been about the smoothest transition I could ever imagine.
I think so too, and I agree with you 100%. James is a great guy. He has a memory that is unbelievable because he remembers projects from 20 years ago.
Absolutely.
And what they did and who did them and all those kind of things. And that's got to be a great asset for someone stepping right into Mike's position.
It really is. And you know, James has always had the ability to come in and really think about what's best for the public.
Right.
And, you know, he served in that planning role. You are constantly dealing with people and their property, and
Tough job.
And it's a hard job, and you have to think about it from their perspective. And so he's worked really hard at that for a long time. That's good knowledge to have at the city manager position, and he's doing a great job so far. He's hit the ground running, and I know I get a lot of good emails coming my way, and you know, anytime you're getting a lot of information thrown at you, that means a lot of work's getting done.
That's exactly right. I used to love what Jim Shipley said, previous city manager. He said, "I'm just a private in the people's army." I always thought that was great.
That's great. That is a good way to put it. I feel the same way.
Skate park. You got that finished? It's open now? How's things going with skate park?
What a great hit. You know, a lot of that was built with grant money. A majority of it, a very large majority of that was built with state grant money for improving that area. You know, Parkview Pool used to be there. We had an obligation from the state to maintain that as some sort of public facility, and so for the city to go in and just kind of transform that pool, you know, we really spent probably less money to have the state come in and bring in a world-class skate park.
Right.
You know, when I went out there, we had the Red Bull skateboarder guys from Nashville in, and they were like, "This is the greatest skate park in Tennessee." So I sure think it is.
Huge,
and it's
huge success.
Yeah, and it's got a beautiful big state emblem in the middle. Got the 3 stars in the middle, and if you get a chance, it's just something neat to look at. It's great concrete work over there, and
they did an amazing job.
It's really pretty.
I think they did. So, in the last couple of minutes that we got, let's talk about the future of Cookeville. And I'm gonna ask you to look into your crystal ball and tell us what you see. But what's your dreams and goals for the next few years for Cookeville?
You know, growth is an interesting thing. You know, you can't stop it. You can't make it happen.
Right.
You know, it's just gonna naturally happen. And you know, we've seen Nashville grow a lot. We've seen Tennessee growing a lot. We're a great state to live in. You know, we don't have income tax. People are going to move here. We can't, and people are going to sell their property, and you're going to see things change. And there's nothing any government or any person can do about that. And so, it's having a positive attitude towards it and making sure that, you know, as we grow, that we're taking the right measures. That growth measures up to what is at the heart of our city. You know, we're a small town,
We are. We wanna keep that feel.
We want
too,
to keep
don't we?
that feel, and we want to keep that vibe, and we want to make sure we've got a downtown that, you know, we've got a beautiful place to live,
We do.
and you know, we interact together well, and we've got a great community around us, and so anything that we can do to ensure that future generations can grow up like I did in Cookeville, that would be my vision.
Have a great life. Well, Eric, you're doing a great job as city councilman, and I appreciate what you do, and thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you, Randy. I appreciate you.
That's our show for today. I want to thank my guest, Eric Walker, for being with us. I hope you'll join us every Saturday morning at 10:30, and also on Sunday afternoons at 2 for Today in Putnam County on News Talk 107.7 and 1400 The Hub. You can also download the WHUB app and listen to us on your cell phone. If you missed any of our shows, you can go to my website at randyporter.org. As always, thanks to Brent and Carl Fleshman for producing my show each week. I'm County Mayor Randy Porter, hoping you have a great rest of your weekend, and may God continue to bless our great county.